Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a new YouTube channel, Sisterly Conversation, where we will be discussing the topic: why is it that as soon as a man's girlfriend or wife speaks up in front of others and the man agrees, you hear she gotta be the boss in that relationship? And my simple answer to that would be is because their relationship is dumb. Because just because a woman speaks, it doesn't and the man agrees, it doesn't mean that she's the boss. It means that he has a mind for himself and he agrees with his woman or wife. The reality is when people are unhappy, they want to see you unhappy. So people think that when they say something is to offend you, but really and truly they're being offended by seeing you with your partner. Won't he do it? Clock it. Right? So, I mean, sometimes I just really got to wonder why people do that. Because the reality is, if I agree with my woman or I agree with my man, what is it to you that he's the boss or she's the boss? That has nothing to do with you. Study your relationship and study your problems. Don't study me nor mine. Period. Shane,
Clock
Shane.
it. All I would say on that topic pretty much is that um, if whether it's a woman or the man, if you agree, if the person agrees with their partner, if they're saying something in public in front of other people and the person agrees with what their partner is saying, I just see it as respect. Like is like they're um yes, they have a mind for themselves and all that stuff, but why, like, I don't understand. Why would you think that one person is the boss because they say something? I'm assuming that maybe the person might have said something that might come across as, I don't know, like, because if a person is saying something, why would you assume that the person is the boss?
True.
Anything you could say, each person have their own thought process, you know? And for example, Tony could come and say something in a crowd, and I could agree with her. That doesn't mean she's the boss. Vice versa. It doesn't mean I'm the boss. It just means that I agree with her thoughts or she agree with my thoughts. So in a relationship, if the woman are usually, because this is not back in Bible times when the women had no say,
Right.
or the women were seen as lower than the man, or in some cultures the women might seem like lower than the man, but that's not what it is. So if the woman has something to say and the man agrees with her, it just tells me that, yeah, they have some type of connection. There are times when the man might disagree with her. That's where the real story comes, because if the man disagrees now with what the woman is saying, and he makes the point to tell that to the person in front of their friends or whatever, or in front of the crowd, then that's a problem. But if he maybe tells her when they get home or when they're alone, that also shows a healthy relationship, in my opinion. But at the end of the day, both persons should be able to say what's up, what is on their mind, as long as it's not disrespectful to the other person, right? Whether they agree or whether the partner agrees or disagrees, both persons should be able to give um say whatever is on their mind, without somebody saying, oh, he or she is the boss. And where does this thing, he or she's the boss, even come from?
Exactly.
Like, unless you see somebody, literally, I trying to think in my head where I would think somebody's a boss of a relationship. Unless you come and say, oh, I want to do this, and the other person say, oh, no, you can't do that. And for everything they say, no, you can't do that. No, you can't do that, or something like that. Then it was, maybe then I might be like, wait, what type of thing going on there, or whatever. But everything also happens in their context. For example, my dad just had a stroke, and my mom had mentioned something. I mean, if she hear me talk about this, she might be like, "Oh," but I mean, this is the only thing I could think of at this point. So my mom decided to tell my dad, like, don't look down at the phone, because it kind of messes up with his posture,
Right.
because he just had a stroke, right? So, and they have their relationship where they know how they talk to each other. Is that they are always joking around with each other and stuff like that, and they happen to be in a crowded area, and sometimes people don't know what you have going on. I also asked my mom, like, how she might have said it and different things like that, because some people don't know what type of relationship you have going on in your relationship. So, the people went away thinking, oh, you know, what going on there, how can she tell he don't use the phone or whatever, before really sitting down and understanding the context behind what she said. Well, give me your phone. I think she said, give me your phone. So, boy, she said, give me your phone because, he was bending down staring at the phone. But she was basically saying, just, socialize with the rest.
Not instead right. That was it.
Instead of,
playing
bending down.
Game. He right. Kept playing the game.
Because it messes up with your posture, and you just literally were sick. You're trying to, get back to walking properly and so on. And people go away with these types of thinkings without even like thinking of the bigger picture.
Yeah. So. Yeah, just a correction. It was just that my mom wanted him to socialize more instead of being on the phone, because he has this habit of, when he's in a crowd or whatever, instead of talking to people and people trying to talk to him, he's on the phone. So it's just to tell him, look, give me the phone so you can socialize with the people or whatever. But you gotta know, and that is what my mother says all the time. Big up moms. My mother says all the time, don't bring nobody in at you. Don't let nobody come at you to see how you and your husband, you and your spouse husband, yes. It's because at the end of the day, you know how it works for you guys. And when outsiders come, they make their own judgments and then make it look as though, oh, they are happy over that how he start to she, or that how she start to he, And I remember I brought a farmer friend by me, and she was just staring at how my parents talk to each other, and I know she had to talk about it, but you have your preconceived notions. If you have your preconceived notions, keep them to yourself. At the end of the day, when you have your relationship, you or your husband are gonna have a way whereby people may say, wait, well, that how she start to he, or that how he start to she, that kind of thing. So I mean, you need to stay out of people's business. You don't know what they have going on. So I mean, at the end of the day, you need to just mind your own business. Just do you. Let them do them and you do you, because if you continue to base your life based on other people's relationship and stuff like that, you will find that those people that you comparing to are living their best lives and they're miserable.
Correct.
So yeah,
and that's what it is, because people will come at you, or people will see you or whatever, and just make an assumption based on one thing they hear or one thing they see.
Yeah.
And it's not even necessarily what you think it is. There's sometimes it's a bigger picture to what is really happening, and unless you actually know, you are, you just come up with something to gossip about, because that's what it really is. People love to gossip about other people,
right?
Make themselves feel better by trying to pull down somebody, especially when they see somebody might have a great relationship. Because as with the case of my parents, they've been together for a very long time,
33 plus years.
So at the end of the day, like, you can't pull one assumption just based on something you see as something that happens on a regular basis. And like Tony just said, people do in their relationships what works for them.
Right.
What works for them might not work for you.
Right.
So you might have you and your partner might be very jovial, very giggly, very whatever. You might make a lot of sport with your partner. You got some couples that can look at people together and say, oh, look at that big boxy, or the other person, the woman and the man can point to people big boxies together, you know what I mean? Or bitches or butt, whatever, right? But then you got another couple that the man might be looking and the woman gonna get super offended.
Exactly.
So that's the whole point. People do in their relationship what works for them.
Yes.
And you do what works for you. So to come and be like, oh, this person's the boss or that person's the boss, you don't know what is truly going on unless that person comes to you directly and say this person is abusing me, or this person is verbally, disrespecting me or pulling me down or whatever. Then you could come up with an assumption, not even an assumption. You can now tell them your opinion because they've come to you directly and said something about it. But just randomly seeing people and coming up with that is a negative, and that's why I also agree with my mom about not bringing people into your house. Because again, you will have the greatest relationship with your partner. Somebody will come and cause a lot of strife over nothing, and this is even with family members as well.
Exactly.
You and your partner will have one thing going that works for y'all, and somebody can come and say, "Oh, why you letting she do this? How comes he doing this? How comes this? Why this?" A bunch of nonsense that you and them were not even thinking about before.
Exactly.
That was not an issue before, and then all of a sudden now, issues have all of a sudden come out of nowhere. Keep the people out your house, because it doesn't make sense at the end of the day to have strife where there wasn't strife in the beginning. And what I would say also is, when you go out, and I also told my mom this as well, like when you go out, yes, this might be your way. I'm not saying change your way or whatever, but I'm saying because when the situation happened, I think she felt a bit, well, not even a bit. I think she felt very uncomfortable about the situation. She felt hurt about the situation. I don't know why, because I mean, she doesn't really know the people. But anyway, that was just how she felt about it. And sometimes then in that case, I was just telling her, like, you need to maybe just, because people can always have opinions. So how you would usually say, to my dad, like, on a regular basis, "Oh, give me your phone, man," just joking around, rather, even though you might be serious about the back situation or getting better or whatever, because you are the caregiver at the end of the day. Knowing that other people will always have some type of opinion, the better things to do might just be to, just keep it simple instead of, joking around and doing the whole thing, because unless you really don't care what people think, then you're going to end up feeling bothered and uncomfortable and stuff, so.
Yeah, and going back to something Shanita said, I remembered one day going back to the part when she was saying, like, even with family members. I hope my mom doesn't kill me for this either, or my dad. But I remember one day my dad, at the time he was well, and he was working, and he just came into the house and sat down in the chairs with his clothes on. And my aunt was there, and she's like, "Oh, why you letting he sit down up there with he clothes like that?" My mother said to her, in no uncertain words, his money bought the chairs, so he can sit on his chairs if he wants to sit on his chairs with the clothes. Because at the end of the day, it's not a case that my mother have not spoken to my dad about the clothes or whatever, sitting in the chair with the clothes, but he buy them.
But it's
And
their
it's not her
business.
business. It's
their
business,
relationship.
and she don't need to know.
And if they have a conversation about the chairs, that's between the two of them.
Exactly.
It's not between no other. Because the thing about people too, right? People will always have an opinion about your relationship, but when they get into their relationships, they're not going to do the same things they're telling you to do.
Exactly.
Because they want their relationships to work.
Correct.
Or some of them have very miserable relationships, and they want you to be miserable like them.
Like
Birds
them.
of a feather flock together.
Exactly.
So it is either the two of them. Either that them walking and the men even want to tell the man nothing at all because the men want to offset them or whatever, or they're trying to have a happy relationship, or that they're already miserable and they're just trying to make you like them as well.
Exactly.
So yep. At the end of the day, when people have something to say, take it at face value, because you don't know what really is going on in the relationship. So this whole he's the boss, she's the boss thing just does not cut it, because you don't know the context of the person's relationship, if they have something to say or not. And if the person is agreeing, well, maybe then just look at it as the partner made a good point, and they're agreeing with what the partner said. Why does it have to be a boss situation thing?
Exactly.
So
exactly.
That's what I have to say on that topic.
Well, that's what I have to say on that topic too. So let us know in the comments your take on the topic that we would have just spoken about. How do you feel about it? What are your thoughts and views? And anything from you, Shane? Okay. Please continue to like,
share,
and subscribe.
Until next time.
Bye.